So while the focus of this video is about building a design studio from scratch, my real goal was to share with you a user experience design. And I always correlate the physical world when it comes to user experience. I often use the whole thing about a roadmap or navigating from point A to point B. Let's say you're going shopping to buy something. So there's a whole user journey there. So what I'm going to try to correlate in this video is how the building of a design studio from nothing becomes my personal journey and professional journey, moving from point A, which was a bare basement, to point B, which was a modern design studio. Matter of fact, the people that worked with me, for me, in that time frame are actually UX designers as well as other folks that collaborate and provide input and discipline and roles that actually result in an end product, which are all aspects of UX. So look at it with that mindset. Thank you. Like any design project, you're going to start off with a goal in mind. And that goal will often come from a client, and that client's voice comes through typically an account person, then it goes down various disciplines and so on. Now, as a designer, when you get to the point where you involve yourself in fleshing that out, there are a lot of different things that go into that, which I will not necessarily cover. But I will cover the blank canvas, the starting point, and the project brief, which typically follows the project assignment. So you're going to come into this with some information that's provided to you. But you're still, more often than not, going to start off with a blank canvas. In a lot of ways, I did too. When I was presented with this basement, and the ask was, create us a design studio, that was my blank canvas. So in starting from scratch, you have to start to think about what are the elements that have to go into this. Who are the people that need to experience this space and why and how? Who are the primary, the secondary, tertiary, etc. And that was the first thing I had to think about in terms of fleshing out this space. And once I understood the parameters of this space itself, square footage, where electricity is, where the bathrooms are, where the exits are, lighting, etc., I created a floor plan to determine what makes the most sense. I also wanted to create something that was scalable. So if the design shop grew, then I had to make sure that I had areas where it could grow too, especially given a specific space and size. At some point after I designed the initial floor plan, the organization that hired me actually provided me with a really brilliant architect. And from that point on, we worked together as I put together the general framework of the studio. He put the skin over it. And what worked really well is him understanding the goal of the organization and working with me with that framework to evolve it into creating a modern design space. Now, in working with a design space, there are a lot of different roles, as I mentioned. Now, those roles require a place to sit, a workstation to work from, areas to store things, network connectivity, places to print, etc. Now, all those different elements are not much different than what you would do in a typical project digital user experience design. In fact, the similarity is so much that they have to come in through a door, understand what's around them. Perhaps there's water, a water bottle thing there, some coffee, maybe a luncheonette, what have you, so that the space you're creating is conducive to the type of users that are going to interact in that space and actually work in that space. Almost especially true because it's a basement, and this basement had no windows. So what we tried to do in concepting, how do we create an environment that feels organic in a basement? So in working with the architect I mentioned, we actually had the idea of creating lighting that actually started at around 9 a.m. to whatever p.m. and actually changed over the course of time to try to emulate what a day might feel like. And so in that respect, it becomes more of a visceral, emotional user experience than a tactical one. However, because designers and the creative agencies work with emotion, work with feeling, you have to make sure you recreate that into space. The same way you might create a wireframe or a prototype to understand that particular user, so when they walk into that space, even if it's digital, and this being an actual physical space, the experience is not much different. So once we actually completed and launched the studio, one of the things I remember very clearly and very fondly as I was interviewing people to fill positions and roles, first thing they did is they walked in, they looked around, and I could see the wow factor. And I could see that it almost changed the way they interacted and behaved. They felt comfortable. They felt at home. They felt like, I want to be here. And so a visceral reaction from a user that goes from an entry point into a space, the same way that someone that is going through a digital product, even if the experience I just mentioned, just from the door to the inside, there's still a lot of different things that they have to experience before they get to that short endpoint. No different than a digital product user, to make sure that whatever things, whether they're nuanced like lights or well-designed studio furniture, that they get that sense that this is fulfilling them as a potential user, in this case a potential employee. I hope you've enjoyed my little story around user experience with building a design studio from bare to bold. Thank you so much.